Mārama te ata, hara mai e tama whakaputa i a koe, ki runga te tūranga matua. Mārama te ata i Urunui, mārama te ata i Take Nui o Rangi, ke aku nui, ke aku rangi. Ko ngā hunga whakarongo e tai mai ana, tēnā koutou, hara mai, piki mai, kia kahurangi e tau nei, no reira tēnā tātou. We have a good show on today. Our guest today is Pj Devoshire from our marae out in Gladstone there, Hurunui-o-Rangi. He's going to talk about all the intricacies and history around our marae out there. But first, a few pānui. Te ohaki o Paora Roa. That's happening at Te Ropiha Pā, the green space at Queen Elizabeth Park on Sunday the 16th of March. That's starting at 12. And that's a kaupapa to whakanui and celebrate our ohaki o Paora Roa, and also whakanui his ohaki about our reo and celebrating the children that had brought our reo back. There's also canapes for conservation happening at Pukaha on Sunday the 29th of March, starting at 4 o'clock. That's a fundraiser. Another big one, and this is one of Hurunui-o-Rangi for them, their big kaupapa that they're taking the lead on and brought back after over 30 years, is the Pā Wars for Wairarapa, happening on the 18th and 19th of February at Makota College. So, e te hunga, tono atu ki o marae, ki o hapu, ki ngā pā maha, e hono nei ana i a koe, rehi te mai, kia tākoro i ngā tākorotanga, ngā kēmu, hei tīma mo tō pā. No reira, ka mutu tērā, ka tira, mihi nui ki a koe e te rangatira o Hurunui-o-Rangi. Tēnā koe, PJ.
Hei, tēnā koe. Tēnā koe, mihi nui ki a koe te tono mai ki a hau nei, ki te hara mai ki tō tā. Me te koutou te whānau nei whakarunga mai, mihi nui ki a koutou.
Tēnā koe. O tira, hei timata, i te tātou kaupapa, to get us started, again, we'll go through Matua Mike's kōrero that he has put together through all the research done over the last 40 plus years that he's put into a lovely kōrero. No reira, ka mihi. Ka tere nei taku rere, ki runga i te māhora me te whānuitanga o te whenua ki ngā kāinga waiwai o oku tipuna, me timata au ki te toka o tōku tipuna a kupe, ka mātakitaki ati au ki waho, ki te moana ki Wairarapa ki tai, ki Wairarapa ki uta, ki te kawakawa, ki te wā ine, ki te wai whero, ki te wai harakeke, ki te raparapatanga o ngā kanohi ki Wairarapa moana, te karu o te ika e hora nei e. Ka rere tonu ki runga ake i te tātau paunamu, o remutaka ka ti tiro whakatau iho ki te whatarangi, ki mātangi, ki te tarata, ki wharepapa, ki pōtaka kura tāwhiti, ki kai waiwai, ki pai tū mōkai o tauira, ki tau whare rata nui, ki tau whare rata iti, ki tau whare nikau, e tere tonu ana. Tahuri au, ki te rai taumataranga o Aorangi Maunga e tū tōtika ki runga i a kaupeka hinga, ki a waihinga, ki te whare o tūpai whakarongo, e aro ana ki ngā hauariki, ki ngā hau nui, e hau nei i te mihi o Ngāti Hinewaka, Ngāti Rākai Whakairi, o Ngāti Rongo Mai Aia, o Ngāti Hikawe Rae. Rere tonu au ki Ngaringari, ki Pukangaki, ki Hupenui, ki Papawai Marae, ki Papawai Tangata, ki ngā whakapakoko, he aro ana ki roto, kia tau atu te hurumanu, te rongo Māori, te rongo taketake ki roto i te tangata ki runga, ki te whenua. Ka tū te puehu, ka paua te tokotoko, o ngā kākā wahanui o te kotaitanga, te paraimata Māori o rātau mā kua ngaro ki te pō. Ka waiho tonu mai ngā kohi-kohinga kōrero nā te rōpū tāne nui ārangi. Hei rau tike, hei rau tūturu, hei rau iere o te whāiti, o te whānui o te whārahi, o roto, o Ngāti Pateika, Ngāti Kauihi, Ngāti Kahukura Whitia, Ngāti Muretu, Ngāti Tauiao, Ngāti Moe, Rere runga, rere rawa, ki te wai hākeke, ki te uwhiroa, ki te takotoranga o ngā rara huarau, me tōna tuahine a parikauiti. Ki runga o maunga rake, ki Hurunui-o-Rangi, ki te tauheru taratahi, me te papatīraha o tūmai te uru. O mai kaha kaha, kuia ka tū ai te pāpūnanga, te wāhi huna, o te tupuna hataraka, me wāna mahi whakararuraru i ngā nanakia o ngā titama, o ngā timutunga, o taranaki whānui e takahi motu motu ana ki tōpi whenua. Ka rere te wai ki wiwi, ka rere te wai ki wāwā, ka āwanga wanga tonu, tōna rere ki ruamahanga, whakawhiti atu ki ngā papakainga o manaia ko hunga wareware o te whiti tūtāwake, me ngā uri o ngā ti raikau moana, o ngā tāne roro, o ngā ti parera e. Mato PJ, ara, era o ngā kōrero tawhito i rongo ana nei. I ngā kāinga maha o te wairarapa whānui o tira, ngā kōrero e hangai ana ki tēnā o tātou marae. Nā reira, mihi nui ki a koe anō e te rangatira e tai mai ana. Nā reira, te timatanga, whakamoheo mai ki te hunga, ko wai koe.
Ai, kia ora, tēnā koe Sani, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou nā whanaungi ai whakarongo mai nei ki tēnei nā kōrero. Ai, pai. Ki tako nei, e taku pauri tēnei wā te whakarongo ki tēnā nā kōrero o Mike, Mikaere, o tēnei o nā kaupapa, me ako nei mohiotanga ki tōku mara Hurunui-o-Rangi. Ko te pauri nei, ko tērā tatangi te mate atu o Auntie Sally, i tēnei wiki.
Kia ora matua.
Auntie Mihi, tērā atu marama. Ko rawa tahi, rātou ko Auntie Lou koko Auntie Hini Pāwai, te tuku whāra ko rātou nā me whangai ahau ki nā kōrero Hurunui-o-Rangi. Ki nā kōrero Hurunui-o-Rangi me ana kārangarangatanga kātou. Koe nā tāko e mihi ana ki a rātou nā hākui, nā mareikura, nā kuia, o te kāinga wairarapa me ki te hononga ki a Hurunui-o-Rangi. Oi anō, me nā mati o te wā, e mihi ana ki a rātou. E paku taumaha tēnā ki rongi a mātou kātou nera e Sani o te wairarapa. Tēnā rero atu o tērā o nā kuia. Tērā kuia Auntie Sally, me Auntie Mihi hoki. No reira, tuku mihi atu ki a rātou tēnā kōrero i nā mate haere atura. Ako waia PJ nei o me penei pia. Timata au ki te waraiti te maunga. Ko rua mahanga te awa. Ko taki timu te waka. Ko kurahaupo te waka. Ko Ngāti Kahonunu. Ko rangi tāne, ngā iwi. Ko Ngāti Kai Paru te hapu. Ko te poho tūtu wake te whare. O te rangi kai whiria reiri, tōku kraua. Ko whatawhiti au tērā ki a tūtu wake, me tōna whakawhiti i te awa ruamahanga, koe nā te ingoa te whiti o tūtu wake. Ko whiti te awa ruamahanga ki tērā taha, ki a Hurunui-o-Rangi. Ki a Hurunui-o-Rangi ko maunga rā ki te maunga. Ohi mānu ko te maunga. Ko ruamahanga te awa. Ko taki timu me kurahaupo a waka. Ko kahonunu, ko rangi tāne nā iwi. Ko nai tāne ro, tōku hapu. Ko Hurunui-o-Rangi tōku marae. Ko aere ihaka nāmana tōku kuia. A ka moe a rangi kai whiria reiri, kia aere ihaka nāmana ka puta ko Suzanne reiri. Ko Suzanne te mātāmu o tērā whānau. Tōku mama, a Suzanne ka moe i te Pākia Alec Devonshire, me ki te whānau ko Tuk Tunungiwa. Tuk Devonshire ara ka puta tēnei, o ka puta nā aku tuakana e toru. Ka puta tēnei ko te pōtiki o nā tama, ko te māta, te pōtiki o te whānau kā tōku taku tuahine. Ai, ko Pj Devoshire tēnei. Koina tāku nei, e piri tonu, ki tērā rohi kātō me ki atu au, e whakahihi pē ki atu ki tētahi. Wairarapa tūturu tēnei. Wairarapa tūturu tēnei. Pērā ki a koe e sani. Wairarapa tūtātou tērā, wairarapa tūturu. Hoi anō koina tāku, he peka no tāku mena ka huki au ki tōku kuia tērā tā. Kia rangi tuia nāmana ko Popo Crons nāmana tērā. Ko tono ka mui Neni Sarah nā toro, me ki huaki no roti a Ngāti Parau, no roti a Hini Rupe, te whānuhu naina, ara, ka mui rawa a ka puta tōku kuia ko aira nāmana. Koina anaki te tā ki waho te wairarapa, ki a Ngāti Parau. Tuatua tērā ko tōku whakapapa kā tōku e ruto tonu te wairarapa. Mina ka ki atu ki a rātou e no te whānau reiri, no te whānau nāmana, o ka mohi o mai koe no wairarapa ahau.
Koia.
Kia ora rā, mihi nui.
Kia ora, mihi nui,
So,
me ngā kōrero. Ai, ka tika. Me ngā taumahatanga, he rungi a mātai, o tērā pēr mai nei kōrero, hei kōrero hiki nā, I tērā o ngā pauri, o tira, me ngā tupuna, ngā pepeha, ko pepeha tia I a koe, ki rungi I a mātai, ka tika, wararapa tūturu, tēnā koe. Tēnā tāua.
Ai.
Ka pai, so, te kaupapa o tō tātou nei punua pāho, te rangi nei, ko Hurunui-o-Rangi Marae. Kōrero mai, no hea te ingoa o te whare, o taua marae, Hurunui-o-Rangi.
Hurunui-o-Rangi, kia ora koe. Taku whakapātu ki a koe sani ka taku I hehe ki a noho ki tō tāinari ai te whānau kai poneke a hau tēnei waka whanganui ātara. Kei taku tari mahi I whakaputi tēnei kōrero, no reira taku whakapāhatu ki a koe sani. So just over here at Wellington, and obviously one of the things when I'm in Wellington, I feel all right at home because I can look around and see and know that our tipuna are here too, from back in the day, you know, and it's an knowledge thing, and listening to some of those kōrero from some of those earlier sessions you've had, Sunday with te tatou paunamu, those sort of things, so, you know, knowledge in Jakiawa and Ngāti Tō, Ngāti Raukawa, rātou noho mai ki tēnei whenua, ina ene. So just acknowledging the mana whenua of the whenua that I'm sitting in at the moment, and those connections that we have, there's plenty of them, across to our rūmutaka, across to Tararua, and into the Wairarapa. So, Hurunui-o-Rangi, well, I suppose the first name that I knew Hurunui-o-Rangi of, or I think I can remember, was the Flat. It was called the Flat. It's one of those things, when you go to the local people of a place know the names of these places, and so the local people know Hurunui-o-Rangi firstly as the Flat. Why is it called the Flat? Because obviously when you go out to the park, you can see a big flat piece of land, and that's where all the papakainga were. All the homes were around there. A lot of homes on the Flat back in the day. My great grandparents, other whānau that were there was known as the Flat. You know, even across the road there, so that road that comes through the middle of the pā that separates our whare from our urupā, he called anō tēnā pia. And so the Flat was the first name I knew it is. Then Tapi Tapi, or Tapi Tap. I was like, oh, Tapi Tap. Oh yeah, what's Tapi Tap about? And so taku nei mohi ki mai te te o te whānau. So my mum Suzanne, I was born in Ferriston back in the 70s, or born in Ferriston, but we left when I was quite young. But just to whakamara, my mum is actually the older sister of Auntie Frances at Lady Smith. And so mum's the mātāmua, and Auntie Frances is the next one down, and then Lawrence and all the rest of the lady whānau. So my mum's the mātāmua of that whānau.
Is that Michelle as well?
Yeah, Auntie Michelle Coley, Auntie Missy, yeah. So Auntie Missy's the baby of the whānau. Auntie Missy's the pōtiki of that whānau. So in that whānau was my mum, Auntie Frances, Uncle Lawrence, who's sharing contractor, Ashley, Robin, Major, Shearers, all those fellows who comes next, Virginia, Richard, and then Auntie Missy. Yeah, so that's my connection in there. And so that's my mum, and the older people would know my mum. I remember Auntie Margaret, for instance, when he said, "Oh, your mum, boy, I know your mum," and the older ones knew, but the younger ones not so much because we moved away when we were young, and so we would come back home every now and then as a Christmas times, holidays. So we always knew Masterton and Te Whiti has been that place for us, or Te Whit as we'd call it back in the day. Those were the places for us. So while we didn't live there, while we didn't live in Masterton and grow up there, my older brother did. He lived with our nanny and popo out at Te Whiti or Te Whit. So he went to Makota College. So he was the same year as the likes of cousin Josie Rady and Kerry Harton, those sort of ones. So he went to school. He remembers going to Kapaka and going up to a Kapaka trip from Makota, or Māori Culture Club as it was then, I suppose, going to Ruatuki for a Māori Culture Club. so he grew up around that. He grew up around the Wairarapa a little bit more than me. But yeah, so just a little whakapapa where people who might not know the name Suzanne, but now that, yeah. So Auntie Frances, Ra, first cousin, Marama and I were brought up like brother and sister. We always have been brother and sister since we were babies. So we're tied as here and I. And so that's how we've been through there. Hoeno, hoki anō ki te kōrero mo te ingoa. So Tapi Tup, Tapi Tup is one of the names, or Tapi Tapi was around a place, a patched up place, eh? And so some of the kōrero goes on about that my nanny was one of the ones who called it Tapi Tapi, because when you look at the whare now, there's different whare there, and the house that's there where the wharekai is, my understanding, what we'd describe that it was called Tapi Tapi, the wharekai. And the other name was the mansion. The proper name, or the old name's the mansion. And so the mansion is the name of that whare, and the mansion was where Kete Nāmana and his whānau grew up, and even some of our ones like Auntie Rata Foot and those ones grew up in that place. Some of those older ones, my older uncles and aunties and cousins grew up in that place, and so that was known as the mansion. So koina, so the flat, Tapi Tapi. And then as I moved into my journey and rediscovered who I was and what I was, I heard of this place called Hurunui-o-Rangi. I was like, well, what's this Hurunui-o-Rangi about? And e rua nā kōrero mo te Hurunui-o-Rangi, but ko te kōrero, mena ka rongo koe he rite tonu, e kōrero ko tahi. So Hurunui-o-Rangi, so one of the kōrero we talk about Hurunui-o-Rangi is this whala Rangi who had a long beard. It was hairy. A hairy whala called Rangi. It was one of the first kōrero we hear. Oh yeah, there's this whole crowd. He was a hairy whala and had a beard, and his name's Hurunui-o-Rangi, the long flowing hair of Rangi. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we get that one. And then there was another kōrero that come through, and as I was saying, I was lucky enough to be brought up at the line. Well, my wānanga started in the late 90s when I went to Te Wānanga Raukawa, did my studies. At one of the first papers was a paper on your marae, your iwi, your hapu. And so I did a tono to our marae kipiri back in 1999, and Auntie Hini, Auntie Lou, and Auntie Mihi was sitting in the wharenui next to the heater because it was cold. And I did my tono, and Auntie Hini says, boy, you're coming back this weekend, we're going to have a wānanga, and you're going to have all the kōrero you need to write your paper. And so that was one of the things that happened to me in 99. From there, boom, ever since, bang. And so part of the kōrero there, Hurunui-o-Rangi, was a comet. The story of a comet, a tipuai, a comet used to come down. And Auntie Hini, I remember Auntie Hini talking about it. They used to come out of the sky and come down over Te Wairati. So those who might not know Te Wairati is the hills alongside Te Whiti, at the back of Te Whiti there. And so when we do sometimes our pepe, how we do a bit more localised to our local place like Te Maipi or whatever, Maungaraki, those sort of places. So Te Wairati is sort of the kai Parupari hill, I suppose, the little lying along there. There's Te Wairati. So Te Wairati Road up around there. So that's one of the ingoa along for that maunga, Te Wairati. And then you go Te Wairati, and next one along is Otahuao, the next one along, right? Bennett's Hill. And anyway, so there used to be this comet that would come in, and it'll come down over the hills, come along the Tauiru, along the Ruamahanga River, and come up and take off straight above Hurunui-o-Rangi and head off up into where it was heading off to. And so the comet, te āhua tanga nei o te tipua te comet rā, mena ka whakaro e mo te tangata, me tērā te whakamaro tuatai, the hairy person with a beard and flowing hair, when you look to the comet, you can see that in a comet coming across, right? You know, a ball with the tail of the comet behind it, you know, flowing through. And so when you have a whakaaro for both of those kōrero, you know it's in there. And so for me, part of the kōrero that I think about in the stuff that I've done around these things, he kupu huna ne, te kura huna. Me kimi he me ruku he ki te kura huna. And so all the kōrero, and I've heard our whanaunga, Matuahami and Hiruwini, and all our whanaunga talk, Mike. And so within those kōrero, there's the kura huna, and you thought it's for us to look into that kōrero, you know, to see where that kōrero is, because there's little bits of kōrero around, and then when you bring them together, you go, ka pai tēnā. And so that's one of the kōrero I know for it. That Auntie Hene and then will talk about for Hurunui-o-Rangi, which then, you know, ties into some other kōrero there as well, which might come along. Ka pai?
Ka pai, rawe.
And so ko nā whare, or I don't know, ko nā whare, so to mention is the wharikai, right? In front of that was an extension in there, which when my brother died in 79 was the wharenui. It changed throughout the 80s, I suppose. Yeah, so we the mattress room, we call it the mattress room, that was the whare in there. And my brother lay in there, my grandfather lay in there at 88, in 1988, so it must have been 1990s. And actually what would do was the wall, when you go out, you know, the wharenui, the wharikai, there's that wall with the picture on it. You could actually be able to remove that wall. And so they would open up that wall, and then the wharenui would become the wharikai, and we'll just have the hakari across both. You know, I remember doing that a few times out there. And then the wharenui, Auntie me used to say, it doesn't have a name, just call it the wharipuni. No, it wouldn't have a name, because it doesn't have a name. Look, it's got no carving, it just doesn't have it, it's just a wharipuni. So it's our meeting is our sleeping place, say. And so that whare came over in the 1990s, I think, and I'm pretty sure it was from Silverstream Hospital. Well, Silverstream, out around Silverstream, was brought over, and I think at the time, ko te kuia, ko the chairman of Tera Wako Auntie Hewa Maranui, he brought it across. And so we haven't really had it. So I hear some of the name is this, the name. We haven't really had a name for that whare, from what I understand anyway. But, you know, it's a place we love because we've had so many mati in there and so many, you know, all the photos and stuff in there. But tuatua tera, kei te wawata tonu mātou, ne moi a tonu mātou. And this is a little bit of a tangi part, I suppose, that I think about, because the moimoia is to stand up a house, a new marae, a new wharenui, ne? And that's in the paddock across the road. So the little paddock on the other side of the fence. And so, and the name of that whare will be Te Kuwhinga o Ngā Hapu o Hurunui-o-Rangi. Te Kuwhinga o Ngā Hapu o Hurunui-o-Rangi. And so, I remember the night we came up with that name, we had a big wānanga about it. Auntie Hene was still alive. We were all having a wānanga. What should the name be? Auntie Marinui wanted one name. And we went around and we all got to a name. And Auntie Charmaine Kawana come up with that name. They were like, oh, yeah. And then one of the nannies, one of the aunties, they wanted to keep hold of another name. And then we had the Auntie Hene like, no, go around again then, until we all come to agreement. So about 2 o'clock in the morning, we all agreed on Te Kuwhinga o Ngā Hapu o Hurunui-o-Rangi. And so Te kōrero mo Te Kuwhinga o Ngā Hapu o Hurunui-o-Rangi, one of the reasons we got that name is because we didn't know who the teko was going to be, ne? Or the kōruru. And so we needed to go back to a tipuna far enough back to bring everybody into the kaupapa, into the whare. And so Te Kuwhinga is about all the hapu. And so, you know, I tērā wāhanga o tērā karapipiti me ki, tēnā o nā mō tēte, tēnā o nā waiata a Mike, ko tete o te wāhanga ki a papa, wai kōrero mō Ngāti Murutu e Ngāti Moi, e rātu o nā hapu. And so ki mā Auntie Lua, Auntie Mihima, ai, e Ngāti Moi ki Hurunui-o-Rangi, Ngāti Murutu ki Hurunui-o-Rangi hoki. You know, and so we have, those are two, and then we have kei te tika tēnā koro nai tāne ro, tōku hapu, tāne ro, te tāne ro ra, he tipuna tēnā no Aotea waka ne. So ko tāne ro, ko tāne ro, o tāne roro ki a koetahi, ki roto Taranaki, so tāne ro rānei, the daughter of Turi rau ko Rongorongo. Ne? And I ki ana te kōrero o tomato nei koro nā tipuna o te whare wānanga, so ko tōna husband me ki, ko uhingariki. Ko uhingariki te tuakana teina rānei o tamate ariki nui. Tamate ariki nui pōkai whenua pia. Ene, te tau nā tamate. And so, te whakaaro ko tamate pōkai whenua pia. Nā te me, I taua haria a taki timu, kia pōkai whenua nei, kia pōkai moana nei, go around the mutu and stuff, and go to Whanganui, and there's a kōrero over there of the Takapau Whanganui a Tamatea pōkai whenua nei. That's the house that's down the bottom of the Wanganui River, and so some of the kōreros about Taki Timu going through there, and the connection of Tāne Rō happening with Uhingarika, Uhinga Ariki at that time, and also her brother Turanga I Mua ne, Te Ahua Turanga, tēnā āhuatanga ki rote a Manawatu. Yeah, tērā tipuna tērā. And so some kōrero around there. If you look at some of the kōrero pāti of around those ways, Ngā Rauru, Ngāti Ruanui, koe rātou nā mea I manaki I tautoko te kaupapa o te matatini, te wiki kua, tērā wiki, ko Ngāti Ruanui, ko Ngā Rauru, te tei o nā mea karangaranga o Taranaki maunga. And so ko Ngāti Ruanui tēnā e heki mai ia Tāne Rō. And the way even to come 94, my cousins, I think I was waiting up a whānau that went to Hauore in 94.
Yep.
For the kapahaka, and so one of the kōreros they went there, and they went up there, and our nanny Ida was with their kuia that went with them. And one of the kōreros they get there, they have a wharenu or a place for them spaced out. And one of the karaua come on and said to nah, you fellows come to this whare, and changed the wharenu and took them to another tōkana because of the connection to Tāne Rō.
Oh, kia ora.
Tāne Rōro.
Wow.
And so there's some kōrero there. So we still have those kōrero that come back and forth from Taranaki. Kei te kimi rapu tonu mena ka tai a Tāne Rō ki te wairarapa, taku whakaro pia, ka tamai aia ake ki te whenua. Because mui ane, because a lot of the time some of our tipuna and our hapu might not have been in the whenua, but might have been a tipuna in another whenua. But the people who came to the whenua took that name. So koina, so Hurunui te kupa, and then Tāne Rō, Ngāti Kai Paripari, kura te taha ki te taha reiri, my grandfather's side across the river. We talk about the whiti o Tūtawake, where there's a kōrero about Tūtawake coming across the river to get his sister, Taura Harakiki, now raru that had gone on, and so te whiti o Tūtawake, and so we talk about coming across the river, and so apparently my grandfather would ride his horse across the river to meet my nanny on the other side, and boom, here we are. So my whole so they were saying my early whakapapa is within 10 k's or within 2 k's of the bird flying from Hurunui-o-Rangi. If you stand on the front and you look across the whiti, it's about 2 k's. So that's us in that 2 k's. So te kupunga te kupunga hapu Hurunui-o-Rangi, like Tāne Rō, Nai Tahu, Rangi Te Taia, he mahe, te kaupia, Ngāti Parira, Kai Paru, ai, tika te Ngāti te Tūtawake, Waipuhoro, Muritu. And I always used to think to my Auntie Hini, I remember saying to Auntie Hini, Auntie, when I come to these hui, get on the committee and stuff, am I Ngāi Tāne Rō, am I this or am I that? And she would say to me, hey, it's when you cross the rivers, boy. Well, what do you mean? So, well, you cross the bridge over there, Rumahang, and you go along, and you go hiki along, and you get along to Parira, and you go to Waipopo, and you're in Parira, then you cross over from Parira to, when you cross Taueru, then you're in Kai Paru, so then you're Kai Paru. So it was a kōrero to say wherever your feet were, when your hikoi, where your feet were, when you went into that space, into that whakapapa, that's who you took up, and so an understanding of the boundaries. And one of the waiata, not tawhito, one of the waiata that Auntie Hini composed for us, which we still have, and we still have the words, and we still have the rangi for it, is o Tahuao, which talks about the kāinga, the awa, the maunga, and all the different things of Hurunui-o-Rangi within that little spot. And so we're quite lucky. So mā kaha, mangawhitau, waipopo, taueru, ruamahanga, those are the awa, uhi manuka, parekuiti, ngangara huarau, tēnā kōrero tēnā. Ka pai?
Ka pai. Oh, ka pai. Thank you. Mō ngā hoki anō nei ngā ingoa o awa tipuna ki te marea, because, you know, in their time they were um, the people of the land and the rangatira of that time, and good on our maraes and for you fellas at Hurunui for keeping these kōrero, and yourself, Matsua, for taking the time to get this kōrero, and I could imagine much more knowledge from those kuia when you were doing your papers. Mihi nui. So, on top of all of those tipuna, what were some of the big kaupapa that sort of, not so much from or maybe from their times as well, but of the marae? You know, I heard you talk just before about how you know, the road now separates Hurunui-o-Rangi from the Urupa. It's you know, that highway that goes past there. What, hea ha ngā kaupapa nunui o te marae nei, o nehe rā?
O nehe rā, kia ora rā, Sunny mihi nui ki. O nehe rā, so yeah, that was one of them, but taku I te wā I wānanga mātou I te kāinga I mo taku pepa, mo te wānanga raukawa. Always question, one rāga was, oh, auntie. So one of the answers is Auntie Hini, Auntie Hini. So one of the questions is, how long has Hurunui-o-Rangi been here? And tōna ki mai, wei, ti tiro ki tērā maunga rake, koina te tāwhiti o tēnei, te tāwhiti o tēnei marae. So Hurunui-o-Rangi has been here as long as that mountain's been there. And awa. That was her kōrero, that we've been here as long as those things are here. So no, mai rano ne, we've been there that long. And some of the kōrero, so now if you head back to this kōrero around the Tifu or Hurunui-o-Rangi, one of the well-known kōrero that we know is Raiko Moana ne. Kōrero Raiko Moana and what happened there and some of the things that happened there, but one of the kōrero about the Tifu, I think runga mai whakateka, my cousin Mao might call it, or runga mai teka, it was one of the comments that came through, he manu, tērā, te ahu o te manu, that took Raiko Moana and, you know, kept them safe and travelled them up the valley up into one of the stops, but not the first one. One of them along Pahiatua, you know, the kōrero Pahiatua, the Pahiatua, the wāhi noho ai, te ana rongo mai is there still. Whenever we go past Pahiatua, if you go just before you come along the flats, then you go across the bridge by that old book shop, and then there's a little dock space there. Koina te āhuatanga nei o te ana rongo mai. And so that's one of the places we do a little beep as we travel along. And so all of that through those spaces, and then the connection to Rangi Whakaiwa, Hāmua, Tamahau, all of those kōrero that come back down into the Wairarapa there. And so those are some of the further connections that we have up the valley when we go and ride it through up into Takapau. Those was kai paripara from Takapau, those fellas. They're from up those ways. They come down from Takapau back in the day, all that sort of kōrero. But well, he whakahi but kia hau nei pia, kia mātou pia. But in one of the books, or the Wairarapa, that book Wairarapa, the Pākehā fella, Big Bill wrote. So, you know, a lot of kōrero in there, eh? You know, and you'll read it a few times and we need to talk about it and do some stuff. I reckon we need to write our own version of it one day, Sunny. But but I think what I know is that we won't be able to have one writer. We'll have to have a whole lot of us in the wānanga, and we all need to contribute to it because we all have our kōrero from our different ones. We have a contribution of all of us writing the puka puka, the real one of what happened to our tifuna. So that's a lot of. So that's one of the things I want to be involved in. But kei roto tērā puka puka tētahi kōrero mo Hurunui-o-Rangi. And it's the view of the Pākehā fellas coming through, old Casey Kemp, I think it was about 1840s coming through, and he reckons, oh, we travelled in these marae for cleanliness, we couldn't go past Hurunui-o-Rangi. One of the tidiest and cleanest papa going around, I reckon the marae and the Pākehā reckons, oh, yeah. So we know beyond the quarter of Auntie Hine that our people are there mai rano. But in terms of that sort of history of the Pākehā world, the first sort of acknowledgement of Hurunui-o-Rangi is around the 1840s, right? Would have been after the Pakala when the Tipuna come back down, Ngāturi and those sort of fellas around those ways. And so, again, in part of this wānanga that we had, koetai, so we know the kōrero of Miki, Tāwhiri Mate, the Aotearoa with the Ho-Ho Meki, that sort of kōrero, the peaceful province, those sort of things. But one of the kōrero I found recently, we had the Queenites and the Kingites. And so were those that also acknowledged the kingitanga, right? And we're part of those sort of issues, those things that were going on. And there's some kōrero that talks about Hurunui-o-Rangi being the rebels. Those fellas being the rebels of Ngaro, Wīwaka, those sort of fellas being the rebel area. And so, some sort of kōrero there. And there's like, if you go through the old kōrero, there's different kōrero, and even some of the old newspapers that talks about these fellas. And I remember one of the pātai for Auntie Hine back in the day asked about, so what did we used to do for religion? Auntie, what was our religion? And she says, and she goes, what do you mean those ones? They used to dance around that pole on the hill. Like, dance around a pole on the hill? What was that one about? But if you think of that kōrero, so this is this kurahuna stuff, where you can find different kōrero and you bring it together. And so you think of the Kingites Meki, you think of the Paimari there, and then you think of one of the kaupapa of Paimiri, again, thinking of Matatini Te Ua Haumini, who was the porapiti over there, and the that ho-ho kōrero, as they call it. One of their things was a nue pole, they had a nue, and that would use it as their sort of one of their whakahare, and they'd have their karake and their whakahare around this place of this nue pole. And so when Auntie's talking about this pole on this hill that they used to dance around, you think, again, you make those connections across each other into those sort of places, and then to sing about us being rebels and that sort of stuff, and so there are those sort of connections, the kingitanga. I heard one of the kōrero in there about rongo take, well, that was one of the names, as Mātua Hami would have mentioned, that was the name of a whare down at Wairinga. That was a whare that was set for the kingitanga. Tāwhiu, I think it was back then, in Tawawa. So, there's these sort of kōrero coming around there. That was one. There's another kōrero they talk about Maungarake, and whenever there was a take going down, and we've sort of thought about this sometimes at home, that Hurunui-o-Rangi would be the place where people would come to there to have the wānanga and have kōrero, to tau kia tautaranga Māori hārānei, to whatever the big kaupapa was that needed to be discussed. People would, Hurunui-o-Rangi was one of those sites that would do that as well. And so, koina te tahi o nā kōrero te kāinga. And when you think about it, when you look at that kōrero of Matua Mike, it's just, the river was the main road, right? We're just up and down the river. You have tauiru coming in from out to Whalas Way, at Tūmap and those ways, coming in from tauiru, Papuima coming from those ways as well. So they all was just the highways, and so they all come and connect into a place. And so maybe that was one of the spaces. And if you think about Ngāngara Huro, that kōrero mo te Uwhiro, Long Bush Road down those ways. Ngāngara Huro and Parikuiti. Well, Parikuiti was, the cliffs on the river, the Taniwha, the Kaitiaki, one of the Kaitiaki of our awa, of our, known Kaitiaki. So maybe that was a reason for that sort of stuff around Hurunui-o-Rangi. So those were some of the kōrero that I've heard and been told about that. We pai tēnā whakao, pai tēnā, te pō te riri kore. We might have been a riri kore ātoto maybe. But might add a little bit of riri tori so. But so so those sort of kōrero there. So ka pai.
Ka pai, matua. The Taueri River, especially, how you say it was a highway, and most people sort of wouldn't realise that it goes from and like most people will see it when on their way out to the coast, heading out Riversdale, Castle Point way. They'll see it down in the bottom of the, at the bottom of those cliffs there. But people not realising that was a main highway between all those places you just mentioned, Matua. And man, what a highway it would have been. And I suppose talks to all of those different, te kupenga o ngā hapu o Hurunui-o-Rangi. And
Ai,
people
ai,
that connected them all. So, mihi nui matua, ka pai. So, are there any tikanga or kawa at Hurunui-o-Rangi that's sort of something that you've only really seen or be used at Hurunui-o-Rangi when it comes to marae stuff? Or
Ko kōrero mo te tangata noho tūru.
oh,
Taku pala.
oh, kōrero
Taku
pēnā.
pala ka tērā, te aku. Taku pala ka tērā. No. So in-house joke that one. but when you so kokia no ki tēnā kōrero Auntie Hini Pāwai. No, so how long have we been here? Long as those hills. Oh, ka pai Auntie. So Auntie, what is our kawa? What's a kawa? Do we have the kawa? What's our kawa to go? Wait, tōna ki mai kia mātou taua. Ko te kawa Hurunui-o-Rangi, te kawa Hurunui-o-Rangi. Hari te kawa Rangitāne, hari te kawa Kahununu. Ko te kawa Hurunui-o-Rangi. And so she said, no, we have our kawa, and it's Hurunui-o-Rangi kawa. And most of it's the same. Majority of it would be the same on what I've seen in the way of setup of pai and all of those sort of things, and how our speaking spaces and where we go to and all that sort of stuff. But that's what she said. It was one of her kōrero was that, our kawa is the kawa of Hurunui-o-Rangi. It's ours. He mana motuhaki tēnā, he motuhaki tēnā. And so the tikanga that flows out of those kawa are the kawa and tikanga of us, and the work that we do. And we continue to work on that. No pera tuni ki Auntie Sally, Auntie me kua naro haere rātou, nā kaumātua, tēnā āhuatanga. And so for those of us that are doing the mahi, we need to continue to work on that. We've had others come in and some would say, Auntie, I remember Auntie saying, oh, I'm pretty sure it's, now I got it all on tape, but about, she can't recall seeing the karanga for koha happen when she was younger. Can't recall seeing that. Other things going on. Now, tētahi o nā kōrero ona o te tūpāpaku, and so we have our tūpāpaku on the side of our house when she comes in. And one of her kōrero was the reason we have the tūpāpaku on the side of the whare is so people have to come in the door. Because she's seen it where people have done their mihi from outside and haven't come into the whare. And so that's why we have it there, so they could see it from outside. If it was down by the perakia Nāpui, when you have it down at the Tuarunga PA, tērā taho o te whare. And so we put it over here, put it on this side over here, so they got to come in and have a look. Well, it was one of her kōrero. It's all true, Auntie. So these are these little kōrero, this time, and koina taku, taku tēnā, e wai maria hei nei. Ki te noho ki a rātou taha, a rātou reki, particularly Auntie Hini. Only had 3-4 years of her, but that was enough to have enough kōrero of that nanny of mine, a nanny of ours, Auntie Hini Whāwai. So that's her kōrero that, we are there, and it sort of, it sort of connects to this thing, and recently, we talk about it, and we've had this kōrero ourselves, and we've had wānanga, and one of the things that our whānau talk about is, ko te kawa, ko te marae, he marae no kahununu. He kawa no kahununu. Tēnā, kei te pai tēnā. Kei te pai. So, and one of the other things that Auntie would say about that, she'd talk about our whānau and those days when those things were happening. But she says, we can whakapapa to everyone. And it's for us to make the call of who we wish to be. We can whakapapa to Rangitāne, we can whakapapa to Kahununu, we can whakapapa to Ira, to whatever. And it's up to you. Who you comfortable with. So sometimes it was that sort of kōrero, but I think as we've gotten a bit older and we've had a bit more wānanga and that stuff nera, Sonny, we've started to think more about us as a kotahitanga of Wairarapa, I suppose, eh? The tū iwi, aho rua, tēnā āhuatanga, tēnā kōrero. He pai ki au nei, pai ki au nei. When I think of, because our rākau moana, right? That tīpuna. Well, anei no te whakapapa, ko rākau moana, ko nāhina, ko rangitua, ko Aira, ko Suzanne Kouau. So even my tīpuna, my great-great-grandfather carried the name of Rākau Moana. Ko te ona wahine ko hoti waipara. You know, and so if we weren't hearing those ahorua, those tipuna names of mai rāno, we moved down the whakapapa and they were still there. You know, and so when we first spoke about Rakai Moana, Whātihini, she said, oh, because they talk about Tuhi Manuka, the bird man, you know, covered himself. And I remember saying, oh, I'd never seen him talk to birds, but I knew that old man Rakai Moana, and he used to sit outside the Hurunui-o-Rangi pub when it was a Hurunui-o-Rangi pub then. And he used to sort of feed the birds. And so Koina Tuna Kōrero, well, there were two Rakai Moana. There was the one back in the day, and then there was this one that she knew, who would have been a karaua, tino karaua of her time there. So, koina.
Oh, rawe.
Yeah, so he mo te hapi, yeah.
Ah, koia, ka pai. Whakaro pai tēnā. No reira, hiahanga, ngā kaupapa ke mua te aroaro. You know, we've seen in the last few years, you know, these last 2 years, especially, Hurunui has been putting on, you know, putting their hand up for a lot of the big kaupapa for our for us here in Wairarapa, and not just Ngai Māori and the two iwi here, but for everyone. I think Anzac was last year. They did Anzac. Was that last year or the year before? They had that awesome other kaupapa there. Well, the Kurareo.
Waitangi Day.
Waitangi Day.
Kurareo, yeah.
Yep. The Kurareo was a gee, that went well. A lot of the people, especially from home here, and the ones that came back, you know, there was a lot of faces that came back that live away, came back for it. Engari ai, hea hanga ngā kaupapa kei mua te aroaro mō Hurunui?
Oh, kia ora rā, mihi nui. Yeah, it's so like I said, I came home in 99, started 99 when I'd been home before then, but to really ruku hoonu ki te ao Māori, it was 99 when I came home. And had that first wānanga with the aunties and the nannies and all those sort of things, and been there ever since, pretty much in and out for now and then. But and I've been away, so we've been home since September last year. You know, those who would know, you know, if you're driving around Tōreori Road or around Lansdowne, you'll see a couple of people walking around with a wheelchair. Well, that's my darling and I. And so she had a big stroke, and so she's at Kandahar, and so you know, that's what we do. And so we brought her home we came home because we felt this was a place we could probably heal a bit better. Not better, but you know, amongst our people, because we'd had that 10 years here in the iwi world. And so been away for that 4 to 5 years, and I just, like, you know, miharo kia, you know, rawe kia, you know, te hoki mai ki te kāinga. I got back just in time for the kurareo. My, you know, my nephews and my cousin Mike gave me a bit of stick for sitting on the manuhiri side and not sitting on the tangata whenua side. Remember that one, for the pohiri? Yeah. But I sort of did that because I was coming back with a kaupapa of my darling as well, you know, and we'd been away a little while, and so I just wanted to. For me, it was important to be welcomed back into my home. Anyway, kapai. And so I just, you know what, it was a bit of a way, a bit of a rongoa as well, you know, a bit of a way to tuku some of that stuff to know that my whānau are there. So I wasn't, yes, anyway. But so that Waitangi Day, Kurareo, Pā Wars coming up. A couple of weeks ago, tēnā kai, tēnā tohunga, Joe McLeod, me tōna kaupapa, you know, e kai. Yeah, koina. That was an amazing kaupapa for us for the 2 weeks out there, learning all about traditional hāngi meki or umu, and, you know, using the roro again and all that sort of stuff. There's been all this stuff was going on, and so it's really our tahua. And then I also noticed even around places like, you know, the maramataka. Well, much maramataka happening when I was back here. And that was only maybe 5-6 years ago, you know, it was sort of there. And then people started getting into rangi mātāmua sort of stuff, but that wasn't really happening. There's a kaupapa, we know Tātāhira, I always listen to Tātāhira, so as I think I've said to Kawa, I'm trying to figure out, am I feeling a bit low because of the moon or what? Which part of my I'm trying to connect back to Te Taiao around those sort of that. You know, the stuff that Amber's doing, cousin Edith and all these different kaupapa that are going on, not just in Hurunui-o-Rangi, in Wairarapa, and I think it's awesome. You know, and they're not being led by our PSGEs, they're not being led by our iwi, being led by our hapu and our people who want a kaupapa. You know, and he mea pai tēnā ki au nei, ko te mahi o nā me tari pērā ki nā PhDs pē, getting a bit political, ko te tautoko. Tautoko tērā kaupapa.
Tautoko, ai.
Kaue tā rahi,
Tautoko,
ko
ai.
koutou, ki muri rā, anei he pūtea pēr, anei he waka pēr, anei he tetai atu mea. Mā te whānau, mā te tangata arehi te kaupapa.
Ka pai.
You know, mā te hapu. So that's the way I sort of see it. So it's been really awesome. So yeah, that's coming up, our Pā Wars. E pānui atu ki a koutou. So we have a special AGM coming up next week, I think it is, or the week after. So we're looking for some trustees. So anyone want to get on the trust? Anyone of a Hurunui-o-Rangi whakapapa, which is all of you, or do you want to be a trustee? So,
which is all of
but
you.
I think it. Yeah. so I think but I think one of the big ones there, Sonny, was the papakainga, ne? The papakainga that we stood about 8 years ago. That was a big kaupapa, you know. And te wharenui, you know, 25 years ago or 26 years ago, even before then, the first time the decision to put a wharenui up or to do something at the marae was in 1950s, and Uncle Reg's Rangi, Auntie Lou's husband, and it comes out of the minute books of them wanting to stand a whare up back then, and that's still the dream. You know, it's one of the things the nanny said. Auntie Hene said it first, then Auntie Lou said it, then Auntie Mihi said it. I'm going to be the first one to lie in the whare. Auntie Hene wasn't in there. Auntie Lou, I want to lie in the whare. Auntie Lou wasn't in there. Auntie Mihi, I want to lie in the whare. Auntie Mihi wasn't in there. You know, pātu ki Auntie Sally. So those nannies, those three nannies, and Auntie Sally, that's what they wanted, was to have the new whare up so they could lie in their new house. And the new whare, and it hasn't happened. And so I feel that, you know, I feel that, and I know all of us have. I know our whānau, our committee, our trustees have tried for ages. You know, we've tried lots of stuff, and from the days when Auntie Mihi was the chair, tried to tell everyone to sign up to pay their $5 a week to the marae. You don't need to sign up these days. You can just go online and put it in your phone and done.
Yeah, that's right.
So you don't need a paper to sign up to go to a bank. You just go, yeah, $2 a week to the marae, sweet as.
Yeah.
You're not even going to miss it. Don't even know it's there.
That's
you know,
right.
that sort of stuff. So koina, so tō tātou nei tēnō taonga, ko te wawata tonu, ko te wharenui, ko te kupunga o nā hapu Hurunui-o-Rangi, eh? So that's one of the big ones that we all been thinking about for a long time, you know. Me nā tikangi, you know, we needing to have a look for our tikanga and our kaua. And koina tēnā o nā whanaunga Jamie me te tūpāpaku rā, me tōna noho ki te kāinga, you know, e mea no tērā. You know, we had some wānanga on that and how that's going, so, yeah.
Oh, ka pai.
Mihi nui e ho.
Ai, mihi nui. And, geez, we're almost out of time, unfortunately. I reckon we might have to do this again, Matua.
Yeah, I was thinking you should bring all of us in. We could all have a session together. You need a day for that one, mate. We might need the whole day on that one, because he would sit down there, bounce off each other. Anyway, ka pai.
You know, hey, just quickly to finish us off, Matua, you talked about all your nieces and nephews that, you know, whatahoro and them, and, you know, me manaia, malo, all doing, you know, their part for the marae with all these different kaupapa. Being, you know, with their aunties and uncles right next to them with, you know, Mark Queenie and them, and Auntie Mihi, Aunt Nanny Francis, and, you know, everyone's all, and yourself, you know, right next to them. But just quickly, if you had a message for the next generation, I suppose that, you know, late teens, early 20s. Have you got any quick kōrero for those?
Nā mihi, koina, e mihi nui, you know, I rua nā me ki au nei I rongo I mā taki te wiki ko pāhara atu. Ko te tuatai ko Rangiura, ne?
Ko
Rangiura tērā. Me nā āhuatanga o nā, you know, I ki mai toku whanaunga Safrania ko e, te kuia o te ropu. You know, last stand for her, she reckons. And so, but, you know, mai tona, my Sophronia, kia arome, taku ira mutu, te kaumā ono, you know, te kaumā ono te tau a arome. And he rawi tēnā, you know, te kōrero, te kōrau, you know, ki mai Sophronia today, you know, this the other day talking about how it was that, you know, that the kōrau singers, you know, yeah, the two is good, the kapahaka is good, but the best thing is to go back home and look after the marae and the paipai and be part of your communities as well. Ko te reo te me nui, ne? Tēnā o nā purahita mō Paora Patangaro, tēnā ahoitanga. Me taku e tangi ana ki Auntie Auntie Georgie, ne? Auntie Wai Kwaio, Bishop Wai Kwaio, te tangihanga Auntie Sally. E reo nā mea te pōta pura nā poraki me te hākari, ne? Mui ana ei, Sani, ki te taku kōrero. You know, and so, Auntie Wai said that on the night, the poraki night for Auntie Sally, and then at the hākari when Matu Mike gave her the kōrero, the whānau, the opportunity to have their kōrero to the cooks and everyone. And what she said there was like, she feels some of the values have been lost, you know, and to look after the old people, look after the kaumātua, you know, come and look after us, be around us, you know, and so, nei koe nā te taihoki, ni tiaki I te whānau, you know, but, no, kei nā rangatahi, you know, ko taku tama pōtiki, te kaumā ono, 16-year-old, you know, grew up around, know what it's like to be a rangatahi. Man, we were hosted to rangatahi in the sharing sheds when I was that age. But hei te wā, you know, koe wari tēnā. Tō koutou wai Māori, you know, runga kōrero ki a koe Sani, me tahi atu. Koutou, you know, tupuaki ki te taha o nā koanga reo, nā kura kaupapa. What no kura kaupapa koanga reo mā day. You know, and so, koutou tēnā te whiwhi, nā koutou te whiwhi, but mau tonu ki tō tātou nei Māori tanga ne. Kia tūkaha, kia tū rangatira, kia tū Māori, he kākaro rui e Māori rangi ate, kore au e naro. Kore au e naro. Koe nā taku ki taku aku tamariki, ki aku mokapuna, ki nā rangatai, kaue wari tērā. Kaue wari tērā. He Māori koe, he Māori ahau.
Tēnā koe.
Manaki mai, so koe nei, tāhua ki ai nei. Look at that hana, young hana, you know. How many of us can say we had 500 million followers on TikTok? Hey, mate. You know, Triti. You can see it. You can see it happening. You can see it coming in that generation, your follow generation. So you can see that coming, that the old school of maybe iwi leaders, iwi chairs, whatever we think we are, who we think we are. No. What you fellas leading this, bro? What you fellas leading this is the rangatai. You know, I don't even have a TikTok. I don't even have a TikTok because anyway. So koina taku. Kei a koutou te a pōpō, ko a tai mai te a pōpō.
Oh, tēnā koe. O tina, mihi nui mō e ra kōrero. Engari, tika tēnā, you know, nā tērā o ngā hunga, ko koe hoki tērā I te rangatira. You know, aha ko te aha kei reira, ki ngā hui, kei ngā tangihanga, e hapai ana I ngā mahi o te hapori nei. Me te whakaatu me pēhia ki roto I te whakapau wera, te whakapau kaha, me te waha nei hoki, I ngā kōrero o ngā kuia o ngā karaua ki runga I tēnei o ngā ringa. Me ngā reanga kei te heke. O tira, Hurunui-o-Rangi Marae, tērā e te iwi. Ko rangatira koe, tēnei kaupapa I a koe matua. No reira, mihi nui ki a koe mo ena o ngā kōrero. Mihi nui ki te kupenga o ngā hapu o Hurunui-o-Rangi me ngā kōrero. Katoa e rangatira nei I a kahurangi tēnei wā. No reira, te rangatira tēnā nui rawātu koe.
Tēnā koe, tēnā koe te whānau. Tēnā koutou.
Ka pai. Thank you, everyone. That's us. Hei mea whakamutunga. Tuia ki te rangi, tuia ki te whenua, tuia ki te moana, tuia kia here te tangata, ka rongo te pō, ka rongo te ao. Tūturu ofi te whakamaua kia tīna.
Eina.
Haumi e hui e, tāiki e.
Tāiki e.
Kura matua, hei kona.
Yeah, ka pai.